Right then, welcome back to part 6. In this episode, I'm going to look at both tactical innovation and performance analysis. To dominate in modern football, unfortunately, it isn't enough to just develop and assemble the best talent. You have to deploy it smartly, and that means outthinking opponents with tactics and players that know how to adapt to that on the fly. There has to be preparation, there has to be in-game adjustments, and there has to be a plan to establish an elite analysis department that leverages the latest in AI, in data modeling, and sports science to give our team a consistent edge. In essence, what we're going to do is build a football intelligence hub at Carrington that directly feeds into the coaching process. Now, at the top level, matches are often dictated by the very finest of margins, and that can be a moment of magic from a player. Quite often, it's a mistake that somebody makes that costs. We want to arm our players and our coaching staff with the world-class analytical tools to identify those areas for either stopping mistakes or identifying where a moment of magic can be allowed to flourish. We want to dissect both our team and the opposition, and that involves hiring both top analysts with backgrounds in data science and even theoretical physics, like Liverpool did, hiring PhD physicists for their analytical teams, hiring the very greatest minds at the cutting edge of artificial intelligence, and analysts that can crunch massive data sets, player tracking data, event data from matching, training performance metrics to find patterns and optimal strategies. For example, by analysing thousands of minutes of footage, you might discover that one particular opponent is vulnerable to a switch of play. They might leave space in between the lines for when a midfield pushes up. There might be machine learning things that are identifying things that our scouts are unable to do. And that's massively important when football has become as systematized as it has been. Pattern recognition becomes so important and valuable when it comes to scouting opposition. Insights like that can be quantified and they can be presented clearly to players and to coaches. Now, you've got very basic things like expected goals, not just to review performance, but also to inform tactics, identify which types of chances we create, which types of chances we score more from, where we're outperforming our efficiency of XG and where we're underperforming our efficiencies of XG. And that comes down to the type of players that you've got. You can look at your pressing effectiveness with metrics like PPDA, passes allowed per defensive action. If that drops in the second half, is it a signal that you need to refresh certain players or refresh people's minds, or is it time for a substitute? Essentially, every match is going to generate a wealth of data. Having people that are able to translate that into actionable feedback is massive. I was at an under-21s game yesterday and I was talking to some players and I was saying, when I coach, there's a lot of things that go through your head. There's a lot of things that you want to say. But the only things that matter are what the players can action. We was joking about, you see some people saying, you need to get your head right in the second half. What does that mean? How do I go from 0 to 1 in getting my head right? You have to give players actionable details. For example, at weekend in the game that we were playing on a very dry, bobbly pitch. We were passing it back to the goalkeeper because we're a possession-based team. But it looked iffy in the first half, and when we were passing it back to the goalkeeper, there were some bobbles, and I could envisage us having the goalkeeper airshot one into his own net because the bobbles were quite horrific on that pitch. Stop playing the ball back to the goalkeeper in this situation. It's actionable, and you can move on from it. You have to have actionable feedback, especially at halftime. You've got to say, do this, do this, do this. Stop doing this, stop doing this, stop doing this. A player can go out onto the pitch with those instructions rattling around in their head, and they can go and make it happen. Spring cleaning isn't just for finally tossing out a fedora that you swore would make a comeback. It's for hitting reset on your grooming routine. Manscaped's Beard and Balls bundle has got you covered from cheek to cheek. Clearing out the overgrowth winter left behind, it is time to weed whack, to hedge trim, and to make sure the lawn is looking manicured for the season, because nothing says fresh start like a sharp beard, and more importantly, a landscaped lawn. Join over 12 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped and use the code Howson, that is HOWSON, for 20% off and free shipping at manscaped.com. The beard hedger keeps your beard crisp like a freshly bloomed flower, while the lawnmower ultra clears out the underbrush, because confidence grows best with the right tools. And there's 20 adjustable settings on the beard hedger, effortlessly shaping your beard from a light spring stubble to a bold, well-defined style. The Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra dual blade system has got interchangeable foil and trimmer blades, and it keeps strings fresh and smooth in the most sensitive spots. Listen, you know what Manscaped is by now. You surely do. If this is your first day on the internet, well, welcome for starters. But if it's not, then you already know what Manscaped can do. Do not cut corners on your grooming routine. Upgrade to the Beard and Balls bundle from Manscaped. Visit manscaped.com. Use the code Howson, that's Howson. Get 20% off and free shipping. And if you need it today, you can even find Manscaped at a store near you. Stay fresh this season for everyone's sake and level up your grooming game today. Another area that can have a real impact is a real-time tactical analysis during games. Like, you're seeing an increasing amount of coaches now have an iPad in the dugout with them. If you've got dedicated live analysis or even analysis teams on match days that are working live, probably stationed up in the stands with the technology, communicating with the bench, you can have an impact on the game in real time. Modern tools are allowing for this. Analysts can both pull up and tag videos and provide clips to the bench within moments. For example, you might have a video snippet of how the opponents are doubling up and overloading down your right-hand side. You can show the manager, and the manager can go and verbalize that to the team on the pitch, you know, the very next play. Coaches that are sitting there with tablets on the bench can receive real-life data visualizations. They can show the distances covered. You can look at positional heat maps. You can look at pressing stats. That might inform either tactical tweaks or substitutions, live and in-game on the bench. You've seen glimpses of this in recent years. Some teams have started to use those live metrics to guide decisions. Yes, you've probably seen everyone, as they're bringing a substitute on, showing the print-offs on a slide. It's going to get to the point where these are things on iPads. Hey, I'm bringing you on because I want you to enact this that we're seeing in the game right now. And that's going to be massive. And it's something that we should fully embrace. It's something that Manchester United should fully embrace or develop. Be at the forefront of this. Real-time data giving actionable insights during matches, allowing strategic adjustments on the fly, will win you points, which might win you titles. In practical terms, if you've got a performance team that's looking at the GPS data, sees one of the midfields sprint count is dropping, or a matchup where the fullback is getting absolutely sprinted past, you can alert the coaching staff and you can act. Maybe you start inverting a winger to help in defence. Maybe you start dropping a striker in to help overload a certain area. Maybe you make a substitute and do something. Those real-time changes can really impact a match and go and win you a game that you should have won. And there's tools. And we shouldn't hesitate to invest big in big technological projects. You should explore partnerships with all of these new AI research firms that are coming out, similar to the way Liverpool have partnered with DeepMind. In fact, Liverpool's collaboration has produced an AI assistant called Tactical that analyzes set plays, suggests the optimal setups. Their experts worked with DeepMind and they developed a system that could predict the outcomes of corner routines and even recommend adjustments to improve success rate. Why aren't Manchester United doing that? In test, tactical suggestions for corner formations were preferred 90% of the time by Liverpool's coaches over the ones that they actually used in games. That's ridiculous. It shows that AI is identifying tactical improvements that even elite coaches might miss. At United, we should be pursuing or leading similar projects. Imagine AI that studies Premier League games and then models different tactical changes. We've seen recent innovations that have gone from 4-2-3-1 to 4-4-2 diamond to 3-box-3. What if you can do that using AI in the middle of a game that can start flagging up ways to change and combat that? It's going to get fascinating. Maybe it identifies that the opposition playmaker is completely running the game and it simulates how their influence could change if you put different players on them. What happens if we put the striker on him? Well, you put the striker on him, maybe it remodels it out and goes, okay, now if you put the striker on him, it's going to stop him playing. That means 20% more balls are going to go to this centre-half, 20% more balls are going to go to this centre-half, and that means they're going to play longer balls. We're better in the air than them. Do that. It's going to get so cool to simulate that sort of stuff, and it'll happen in real time. A manager's going to be sitting there making a decision and go, actually, what happens if? Okay, let's do it. And that sort of predictive analysis approach means that you're not just reacting to what has happened, but anticipating and actually making things happen. You sit there, you analyze an opponent. The system might say, look, if you start pressing their centre halves aggressively, there's going to be a 70% chance their passing accuracy drops and they're going to resort to long balls. We're so much better at regaining those on the halfway line, and we'll end up conceding 30% less chances. Do it. Brilliant. And you should have an internal research and development group, like a task force, that constantly tests and explores new tactical trends. In the last video, we looked at having a club partnership network. Go and test these things in our little teams that we're partnered with. See how it works for them before bringing it to the big league with Manchester United. Fantastic. Experiment with things. Obviously, Pep changed the Premier League a little bit by bringing fullbacks or one of the centre halves into midfield, inverting them. Klopp's used extreme counter pressing a few years ago, which was quite new to the Premier League at the time. Instead of reacting to those things, set those things. Stop catching up. Start being the group that's testing out ideas in practice matches or with youth teams, or even trialing it in our club network. How does 3-4-3 match up against 4-3-3? How does 3-5-2 do when it's got these principles against the next formation that's coming through? What does it do to our chance creation? Find out and have it supported by data. Use video game simulators, even leverage things like the Football Manager database, which is fantastic in terms of its scouting tendencies, as some clubs are literally doing. Collaborate with those partner clubs and become an innovation hub. Stop just allowing things to happen in the world of football and start going out and making them happen. Experiment. What happens when one of our loan players team starts playing something and one of our loanees suddenly looks like a world beater because it perfectly fits what he's all about, and then you bring him back and you adapt the first team to doing that as well, and suddenly you've got your own version of Lionel Messi. How cool would that be? Start being a team that's known for being visionary and proactive. And bring in specialist coaches that focus on the fine margins. We all sort of laughed at Liverpool when they brought a throwing coach, but it is one of the number one ways people actually lose the ball when they're in possession. Typically, the number one way, actually. If you could eliminate the number one way you lose the ball, why wouldn't you do that? And obviously, you've got your broad tactics, you've got your set piece coaching. Those things are going to yield big dividends, obviously. But specialist coaches really do help. 1/3 of goals come from set plays. FC Midtjylland turned that into a science. They've got a playbook of 20, 25 different routines. That means that instead of it being 1/3 of goals comes from that, half of their goals come from that in one season. We should absolutely emulate that. Look at Arsenal this season. The set piece coach has been doing absolute madness for them. I don't know what Eric Ramsey was doing when he was at United, but that can be enough. And one of my favourite books, that's Reboot, right here. If you've not seen the video I did on books, it's an excellent book. The Germany team literally got confidence going into that World Cup because they said, if we're not able to score from open play, we will just score a standard set play. Because they had such confidence in their ability to go and score set plays. And they won the World Cup. Another example, like we said, is the throwing coach. Liverpool hired Thomas Gronemark from Midtjylland, actually, and saw their retention of possession from throw-ins go from 45% to 68%, from one of the worst in the Premier League to the second best in Europe. That's ridiculous. You literally change that and it has a direct impact on the pitch, especially if you're a possession-based team. Find other little niches where the data set can justify it, whether it's a throw-in specialist, whether it's a transition play coach, whether it's a mental coach. Find people that are going to be responsible for one thing, but absolutely legendary at it. And you will see performances rise across the board. That performance department, an analysis department, should mean that all of those specialist insights are integrated. And without it going to American football, where you've got a defense coach, an offense coach, and all these different things reporting to one head coach. But there should be elements of that. Something digestible and, most importantly, actionable for players. Before a match, every player should maybe get a little playlist with pointers about what's your opponent's habits. A fullback might learn that one winger has a bit of a tell, always cuts in on the inside. Force him to the outside and here's what happens. Maybe he tracks back poorly. Get at him. That sort of thing's kind of happening already with the dossiers that players get, but incorporate virtual reality to have walkthroughs about what opposition tactics do. How funny would that be? You're sitting there on the team bus with your headset on, and the coach is literally walking you through the plays that you're going to have. Brilliant. That's possible. Players can essentially see their opponent before they've stepped out onto the pitch. When they get onto the pitch, it's familiar to them. And then feedback loops and constant improvement attitude. After every game, a hot debrief. You go through all the different analytical tools. What worked? What didn't? Did our game model create chances that we didn't expect? Did the players create chances that we didn't expect? What was the outcomes of this? Was the press intensity on target compared to recent times? The metrics dropped off. Did the metrics drop off because the game was won? Or did the metrics drop off because we weren't fit enough? And if something unexpected happens, you struggle against the low block, or you get exposed on a counter, or one player fumbled, because it happens, you investigate why and you adjust your models. It's about trying to have constant improvement mentality. And over the years, you can build an immense database of knowledge specific to Manchester United style of play, but know how to win football matches. And also how to develop players individually that fit within that system. Analysts can break down a young defender's positioning errors or a striker's movement patterns, present them to the coaching staff, and the player can get to tailor what he's doing and fix those problems. It's like having a personal performance GPS AI coach that sees exactly where you need to go. And then obviously integrate the very best of sports science. When I think about sports science at the football level at the moment, it feels like sports science just tells people that they're working too hard and they've got to focus more on recovery. But when I look at other sports, I feel like football gets left behind. I feel like they're leaving so much more on the table when it comes to their physical output. And of course, there is a fatigue, and there's a lot of arguments that players are playing far too much football at the moment, and there's probably too much travel involved. But I think more robust players, a better weights regime, you would have players that are better suited to coping with the intensity that's and the demands that are asked of them. Manchester United should not just try and keep up with modern analysis and performance data. They should lead it. We should be looking at AI-driven tools to simulate tactics, real-time data that guides in-game decisions, and a culture of forensic preparation. You can almost script out your set plays, from your throw-ins to your goal kicks to your kickoff routine. There should be ways that you mentally outsmart and outmaneuver your opponents. And the players should step onto the pitch knowing that no team is better prepared than them. No team has done the work in the gym. No team has done the work with the VR headsets. No team has seen the video. No team has walked through exactly how they're going to win this match, knowing that you've got both the tactical advantage, the physical advantage, and a technical advantage as well. And that breeds confidence. And that's the sort of winning edge that can result in trophies. Anyway, that's another episode in the can. I can't believe I thought all this was going to be in one episode. Anyway, in the next one, I'm going to be looking at specific sports science, both medicine and injury prevention. See you in the next one. Laters. Hey, thank you for watching the video. If you are new around these parts, then don't forget to subscribe. My channel is proudly supported by my community on Patreon. If you'd like to get a little bit of extra content, a Discord group, meetups, five-a-side games, weekly podcasts, behind the scenes, and even an occasional bit of transfer news as and when I get it, then for the price of a pint, you can show your appreciation for the content that we make and get some goodies for doing so as well. Check the link in the description or click the button right here. You'll also find all of my socials here too if you want to follow me on any of those platforms. Nice one.